Can you believe that my sister and I have been fighting over the crown of this kingdom for years? Hi, I'm Natalie. Please like and subscribe. My twin sister Valerie and I grew up in a huge castle by a silent river. My about 1,000 years ago, my ancestors built this kingdom from scratch, and now our dad is the king. Everyone used to tell us that we were very pretty. Even though Valerie and I were one of those twins that didn't resemble each other, Dad treated us equally from day one. I had long, dark brown hair, and she had short blonde hair, but our eyes were both blue. We grew up without a mom. She went to heaven 2 years after our birth. I was very little, but I remember Dad crying for nights and nights. One day, when we were 10 years old, Dad came home with 2 big chests full of gold. They both contained the same amount of gold.
Here, my little rabbits. These are for you, for when you grow up to invest them in your dreams. There is 100 kilograms of pure gold from the mountains where we are coming from for each of you.
It was so shiny and beautiful. Not for Valerie, apparently, because she started complaining.
Why should Natalie take the same amount as me?
Because you are both sisters and twins. You deserve to be equal.
We are not equal. I am more beautiful and smarter than her.
You two should stick together. There will come a day when you will have to join forces and stick together instead of being divided. If our enemies find out that you two don't get along, it will be very easy for them to take the castle from your hands.
Got it, Dad?
Got it, Dad.
But it turns out this was just a test from Dad.
What you see is not real gold. It's just cheap metal covered with yellow shiny paint. You both failed to cooperate. And I can tell you, you are not ready to have this much power in your hands.
See? You ruined it! Just because you can't accept the truth! Now I have no gold because you can't keep your mouth shut!
Me? You ruined it! She stared at me in anger for a few seconds, then suddenly jumped at me, pulling my hair. It was a big fight. Years passed, and Valerie and I grew even more distant. Once, when we were 15, a crazy winter was going on. Outside, there was a snowstorm and everything was frozen. Because of that, even we, the royal family, were short on food because all the animals had gone to warmer areas and all the vegetables were buried under snow at the moment. One night, Dad, Valerie, and I were seated at the dinner table, waiting for the butlers to serve us food. But when the servant came, he only brought 2 baked potatoes. I was shocked.
Is this a joke? You're fired!
Valerie, sweetheart, it's not his fault.
That's all that's left. I shared every last piece of food with everyone in the kingdom.
Why would you do that? They are poor creatures. We are rich, and we are the royal family. We deserve all of it.
You don't even deserve those 2 potatoes.
You shut up! You're not eating. These 2 potatoes are just for Dad and me.
That's okay, honey. I won't eat. You two can eat them. Our scientist said that soon it will be sunny again.
Then I'm eating both.
And she did! She devoured both of them in a second. What a jerk! I stood up crying and left the dinner room with an empty stomach, went to my room, and cried all night. The morning after, when I woke up, I couldn't believe my eyes. I looked out the window, and it was sunny! I saw Dad leaving together with the hunters and their horses and retrievers to go and provide food for the castle. He was such an inspiring figure to me. One day, I wanted to be queen just so I could care for our kingdom the way he did. I'm sure Mom would have been proud. I got dressed, went downstairs, and saw Valerie in front of the fireplace. What are you doing up this early?
That's none of your business. But since you look desperate, I will tell you. Dad promised me that when he comes back from hunting, he would bring a surprise just for me, and he would bring you nothing.
Dad said that? I looked at the butler for approval. He rolled his eyes but didn't say anything. I smiled at him and told Valerie, "Well, I hope you enjoy what he brings you. Meanwhile, would you care to go for a walk in the garden with me? The snow has melted and the path is clear."
Are you out of your mind? It's still cold.
As I headed to the door, Valerie continued,
But you can stay here with me. I will act like I don't mind.
I stopped, turned to her, smiled, and went to sit next to her. We were both looking at the fire. Why are you like you are? Why do you want everything for yourself? I am your sister.
I know, but one day I will be the queen. I have to prepare myself now.
What makes you think that? We are twins. I could be queen too.
I can't believe you. Haven't I told you many times that I am smarter and more beautiful than you?
I looked at her in anger, but luckily she smiled, because otherwise I would have jumped on her. We stayed in front of the fireplace for hours and hours next to each other. For the first time in my life, I was feeling like I did have a sister. We fell asleep and woke up when we heard the horses approach the castle.
Dad is here! Now watch the surprise that he has for me and cry.
When the door of the castle opened, I did cry, both of us. 5 hunters were holding the gigantic and strong body of Dad. We ran on him, but he wasn't breathing and was messed up. His face was full of scars.
Dad! Dad! What happened?
Milady, we were in the woods and we saw a deer. We always shoot from a distance, but His Majesty had run out of arrows, so approached the deer from a close range with a knife.
What? The deer did this to him!
No, milady. A bear that had seen the same deer and wanted her for himself.
My world fell apart. I was having trouble breathing and I passed out. When I woke up, I was in a bed and 3 people were over me, but none of them were Valerie. What happened to Valerie? Where is she? How is she?
Don't worry, milady. She is fine in her bedroom.
I didn't leave the room until Dad's funeral. Then, after a week, when I woke up one morning and went downstairs, I was shocked by what I saw. Valerie was wearing the queen's crown and was going around the castle giving orders to everyone. I went to her in the garden.
Is that the way to cut a flower? You idiot! Go home! You're fired!
No, stay here. Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?
No, go! What does it look like I'm doing? I've taken over the castle. I am the queen now. And it's about time someone put in some order in this kingdom, because Dad had become too lenient in his reign. This kingdom didn't deserve him. He was too kind. But now I am in charge.
No, you're not. Take off the crown.
No thanks.
Take off the crown immediately. First of all, there should be a protocol and ceremony to name the new queen.
Been there, done that, while you were asleep.
It doesn't count. And second, it hasn't even been a week since Dad passed. And all you can think about is this stupid crown!
If it's stupid, why do you want it then? Guards! She insulted a royal object. Take her!
But of course, the guards didn't move because they hadn't seen the ceremony yet and didn't recognize Valerie as queen. I couldn't care less about being the queen at the moment, but I also couldn't stand being ruled by a brat like Valerie. One day, 6 months later, Valerie was arguing with the governor of the castle who had been taking care of internal affairs forever. Dad trusted him blindly, and so did I. What's going on here?
Milady, nothing important enough to bother you.
It's all because of you! If you would just give up your stupid ambition of wanting to be the queen, I'd be the queen by now, and the kingdom would be fine. But thanks to you, we are facing economical issues now, and the governor here is making insane suggestions.
I would like to hear his suggestion.
Milady, our kingdom is part of the 7 kingdoms of the northern lands. Your ancestors have signed an agreement that if any of these kingdoms would be left without a king or queen for more than 3 months, we have to inform them to send us the diplomat who would evaluate the best person that should take over.
You knew about this and you didn't say anything? Valerie turned red and left the room. I asked the governor to inform the Congress of the 7 kingdoms to send us the delegate. 1 month later, the delegate arrived. His name was Charles, and he was so handsome. But most importantly, he was a real gentleman. My sister and I were waiting for him in the main hall, and he bowed down and kissed our hands. OMG! I had a crush on him already, but I had to stop myself from doing anything stupid because he was here to judge who the future queen would be. My ladies, you know why I'm here. Therefore, I would like to start by giving you some tasks. First of all, I want to see how you manage tough situations.
Well, if we go together to the main hall, I can show you how I manage tough situations.
Seriously, now was not the time to flirt! My lady, it's best if the tasks are performed in the presence of your sister and the governor. I am required to have testimonies. The first situation, imagine that you are the queen.
I don't have to imagine. I am the queen.
Shut up! Charles looked at me in a very weird way and I just realized I'd done a stupid thing. Okay, I think I have the answer to how you manage things. No, please! That's okay, my lady. There are 2 more tasks. What would you do to maintain internal relationships with other kingdoms and avoid wars?
Avoid wars? That's ridiculous. Why would we avoid wars? We are the strongest kingdom in the world, and we can win over anyone and anything.
Okay, I think I got this answer as well. I started to stress out. What if Valerie won the last task? That would be a disaster. Last question before I conclude. What would you do if the people were experiencing food shortages? No one of us answered straight away, but I knew exactly what the answer was. I would go myself to hunt and provide food for our people until my last breath, just like my father did. Valerie was still thinking. What was there to think about? The answer was obvious, or at least for me, because she surprised me.
I would send every man for hunting, but I would stay in the castle in case something happens.
What a jerk! I immediately regretted saying that in front of Charles, but he laughed at my reaction. Well, one of you gave the right answer, which defines the future queen. She is Valerie! What? How could that moron have given the right answer? Turns out, no matter how noble my answer was, there was a protocol that said the queen or king had to stay safe as possible because otherwise the kingdom would turn into chaos. That's why we were in this situation now. Valerie had chosen to stay inside, thus aligning with the requirements of a queen. I started crying and went upstairs when I bumped into the governor. I hugged him as if he were my dad.
Milady, you shouldn't cry.
But she became the queen. She will make my life miserable from now on.
No, she won't.
He smiled at me and showed me a bunch of papers. Then he went downstairs to Charles and Valerie and handed the papers to them.
What's this trash?
This trash, milady, is what your father has signed. While I was looking for the papers to sign for the new queen, I found this in his drawers. In these papers is written the adoption permission from your parents to the late king. Valerie, you cannot be queen. You do not have royal blood.
What? I couldn't believe it! Valerie was adopted?
This can't be true! We're twins!
You were the daughter of the ex-queen's sister, who unfortunately has also passed away in a glorious battle, and she fought bravely, together with your father. Therefore, Miss Natalie has the legal right to become queen. Well, case closed. I'm heading back home.
Wait! He stopped, and I went to find Valerie. She was crying. Valerie, please don't cry.
But I am adopted! Are you happy now?
I am because I still love you the same way, which means that for me it doesn't matter who your parents are. You will always be my sister. Valerie raised her head and looked at me for a moment, then burst into tears. She hugged me as she'd never done before, and I knew this time she meant it. We will rule together. I will take every piece of advice that you will give me. I promise.
In this case, my business is over here.
Please, stay a little longer. We need your help. You seem to know everything about ruling a kingdom. And it was true. Charles did know everything about it. He promised to stay with us until I'd be completely ready to rule the kingdom. 5 months later, Charles and I were traveling in a horse-drawn carriage when he started talking to me sweetly.
My lady, no matter how inappropriate this might seem, I cannot keep for myself anymore the fact that I am in love with you.
He was so cute. His eyes were shining when he said that. I couldn't say a word at that moment. Stop the carriage!
Are you going to leave me here?
I smiled and asked him to come out of the carriage with me. When we went out, the most beautiful scenery opened in front of us. We were riding along a massive canyon and it was almost sunset. Everything was beautiful and perfect. I missed Dad for a moment, but I believe Charles was sent to me from Dad to protect me, to take care of me, just like Dad used to. I turned to Charles and hugged him. Then I looked at him right in his beautiful eyes. I love you too. We kissed for the first time, and it was magical.